Okay, call to order the December 17th Select Board meeting. We'll start with pledge of the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okie dokie. Right, we'll start with manifests and payroll.
Make a motion to approve the accounts payable manifest of December 17, 2018, and the payroll manifest of December 18th, 2018.
All in favor?
Who is the second?
Tyler?
Thank you.
Okay, minutes.
I'd like to make that motion to approve the December 3rd, 2018 minutes as amended.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Next.
I'd like to approve the December 11th, 2018 regular member meeting as written.
All in favor? And finally,
Who is the second? Sorry. Tony?
Sure.
oh, sorry. Thank you, Tony. Last one?
3:11.
Your last one?
There's a
Non-public.
12-11 non-public.
Oh, yeah, there's also 12/3, sorry. December 3rd, non-public.
No, just 11.
Just 11?
Yeah.
Okay. Approval, December 11th, 2018, the non-public minutes.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Cool. Okay. Reports from the boards and assigned committees. What's going on? Anything going on with the budget committee?
They had raised a couple of questions in regards to some line additions to the budget.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you got that, Chris.
No, I think Dawn was gonna send them, because we haven't seen them.
Okay, it's just, a lot of it's been the added stuff that we had, you had put in, but one of them was the software. It seems like the software one had popped up on all of them as a new line.
Yeah, we're breaking that cost out from, it's been buried in other lines in the past, so there's only in one case it's actually a new expense there.
Okay.
It's just it's getting to be a bigger and bigger number, so we wanted to just show it as its own thing.
And, I mean, that was just a couple of questions, and, Don has all that, but other than that, there wasn't really anything that stood out for the committee to question.
Okay, so no big concerns.
Yeah,
Okay. They must be on a weekly cadence now, right?
yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Okay. Planning?
Yeah, so we had a meeting last Wednesday, the 12th, and we continued the hearing on SBA's application to move the tower.
Yeah.
And this is after we did the site walk on the weekend of the parade. And there was a vote taken. It did not pass. The application hasn't been denied, but the vote didn't pass. And I wouldn't quote me on this 100%, but I think most of the reservations are about whether or not the conditions that would be put on the approval would be sufficient to mitigate the zoning issues that are on the property, landowner issues.
Okay.
So, so it's been continued till after the new year, and they're gonna dig into that a little bit more.
Okay.
And as I understand it, the property is gonna be visited by Mr. Sylvia to get a firm grasp of what's really a problem, what's not, what needs to be addressed.
Okay.
So we'll know more after.
Anything we need to be concerned about there?
Just a lot of vehicles, a lot of old vehicles, motorhomes that might actually be being lived in right now. And then, it looks like there's been a lot of automotive debris there for a while. So there's some concern about, what was leaking out of those cars and what might get disturbed once the construction equipment comes in to build the pad and
Yeah.
dig the posts and whatnot. So, so we'll know more after Dale does his visit.
Okay. Okay. 300? Nothing.
Those don't have
Okay.
going on all the time.
All right, Chris.
I think I just have one thing, since I wrote to you all last. I think you're gonna hear from the Board of Assessors, the idea of dissolving the Board of Assessors has been floated around for a year or two. And I think they're gonna suggest that you propose that in March.
Okay.
We need to think about what that would mean for you. That, all that responsibility would revert to you if the town decided to do that. So, if you want to put some thought into that, before it comes time to propose it, if you so desire,
Yeah.
and what that might look like. You
Yeah.
don't have to,
Yeah.
but as you think of things, you have questions, let me know.
Yeah.
Just think about how to approach that question.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of the things. We're a 5-person board now versus a 3-person board. It would have been not smart to take it on as a 3-person board, but it may make sense for 5. But
Yeah,
we can think about it and talk through it.
Given the, I think 2 years in a row now, that's been filled with write-in candidates. We've struggled to fill that board.
Yeah.
And struggled to get, getting meetings together and that kind of stuff has been particularly challenging. There's some
Yeah.
time-sensitive stuff around assessing that we really need to keep moving. And we're really quite dependent on, the board is really quite dependent on the assessor and the staff for
Right.
a good chunk of the work, so but it is gonna be more work for you, so.
Can you just give us, at some point, give us just kind of like a overview of what that would mean for this board in terms of, our role
Yep.
in it? That would be helpful to us, I think. But, if we can't even get people to run for the board, that's a pretty big indication.
Yeah, it's not glamorous work by
No,
any
it's
stretch.
not. Okay. Any questions on that, you guys? Any other questions for Chris?
No.
In general? Okay, I want to slide in on the agenda, before we deep dive on the other topics. I sent you all a email with a proposed agenda for the private road maintenance workshop on the 27th. And I don't want to discuss the issue, I want to discuss the structure of the workshop that I've laid out. I think one of the things about a workshop for us is it's still a normal meeting for us, but a workshop is a tool that we can use to kind of deep dive and focus on one topic. Because in the course of normal meetings, we don't always have the time to do that. So I wanted us to be able to thoroughly discuss that because we haven't. But I also want to kind of put some structure around the conversation so we're just not pinging all over the place. And I do anticipate that we'll have an audience that night. So my overall approach is that we start, with just kind of a review of, what our workshop is, what we're doing it, and, what our goal is for the evening. Then we'll have, board discussion with the, town administrator. And the way I kind of want to structure that part of it is, for us to begin by reviewing the circumstances to date. Like, how did we get here? Why are we at this point right now? Review and discuss, potential options for moving forward, right? Reviewing the existing policy, right, to see, just to discuss that. And then from there, identifying potential next steps. There's obviously not gonna be anything decided in that meeting, right? And I suspect that it's gonna be the first of several conversations around it. But I want us to come out of that meeting with a clear action plan, okay? The third phase of that meeting will be opening it up to public comment, okay? The thing about this is that because it's a workshop, it's our time to discuss, but we also wanna make sure that the public has time to comment. So, how do you guys feel about that? Any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, I think we're gonna have to have it in the bigger room, I think.
That's likely.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. So then the other part of this is I just kind of threw my notes together on, what I see as the summary of circumstances to date and then potential options. This was just a brain dump on my part. And I would like it if you guys could, just take a look at that, let me know if you have any comments on that. And I'm sure there's more, but this was just an initial brain dump, okay? So we all cool on that? Okay.
A couple things will come up later that I'm gonna ask you, just because of the time of year, that we sneak a little other business in that isn't related to this.
Yeah,
So it's probably 10 minutes worth.
Okay.
I don't know if you wanna start in here and bang out that kind of stuff and then jump down there, or you wanna do it all and I don't wanna.
if we can, my preference would be to do it first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the
Yeah.
business stuff.
Yeah,
Maybe we post 15 minutes, 20 minutes beforehand here and then
yeah,
adjourn to the, recessed over there.
that's good. We can do that. So, anything you guys can do to help clarify the focus of the meeting on the 27th? The key points being, this board hasn't had a chance to discuss it in detail and fully. It has been raised at meetings, particularly around the two urgent situations that we've had, but we as a board have not discussed it. Workshop is our vehicle for doing that. There's gonna be no decisions made that night, and public comment will be, open as well at the last part of the meeting. So,
6:30 start for the workshop? Is that your-
yep,
You were listed at 6 originally.
You did.
No, you, at this meeting, you identified 6.
I thought the last one, no, our last meeting was 6.
But,
We met last Tuesday and that was 6 o'clock, this one's 6:30.
so this will be at 6:30?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, all cool on that, guys?
Yep.
Okay, take it away, Chris. Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to say, there's quite an email list of people that are connected right now, looking for factual information, and if there's something that you would like to put into the hands of the people attending the meeting in advance, it could certainly help to distribute that, so that they're not just seeing something cold when we get there. So I'll just leave that open to you to
Okay,
decide if there's something that would be beneficial for the conversation.
okay. Chris and I can talk about that. The other myth that I want to dispel is the fact that the board's been accused of scheduling that meeting on the 27th so that nobody would be around and nobody would know what we're doing. That is utterly false. The date was picked because our meeting schedule is thrown off because of the holidays. right? And it is a time when we're all gonna be in town, and the rest of this meetings, this, from now until March are pretty well booked up with budget discussions and town meeting preparation. Also, we know that this is gonna be the first of multiple conversations, so that's why we went ahead and scheduled it for the 27th.
The other item that people have wondered about is whether you scheduled it then so that there can be a warrant article, to keep pace with whatever needs to happen.
There was
To get
no,
something on
there
the
was
warrant
no
for town
devious
meeting.
plan behind picking the 27th. None whatsoever.
Just
We
find
have,
out that.
nobody's even thought that far.
As a witness, you guys were nice enough to figure out when we decided not to meet on New Year's Day.
We did.
That was the,
Personally-
that was the impetus.
Personally, I was pushing for that, Steve, because, why not, right?
So I can testify that you were okay in that decision. That's why you made it.
Okay, thank you. Tax deed.
Okay, we have a prior owner of a parcel that was tax deeded who wishes to pay what is owed and regain ownership of the parcel. This is a pretty straightforward process legally. In the event that you tax deed a parcel, or the tax collector tax deeds a parcel, the prior owner has 3 years to pay taxes that were owed at the time of the deeding, taxes and interest that were owed at that point, the taxes that would have been due but for the tax deeding, any costs that we incurred as a result of owning it, et cetera, and a penalty which is equal to 10% of the property's assessed value.
So it's taxes and interest to the point where we deeded it, or where the board deeded it,
And then,
and then a penalty.
no, there was an amount due the day that the town took it.
Yep,
But the owner must also pay the taxes that would have been due but for that taking. So the town is in essence made whole, all the money that it would have collected had the owner been paying all along.
So they're gonna get current to the current day.
Correct.
Okay.
Right, so that is the objective, is that you don't get time off
got it.
from the taxes
I got it, okay.
by
Yeah,
going
yeah.
through this process.
Yeah.
And you pay a 10% of the assessed value penalty. So it's, this is not I wouldn't recommend you manage your real estate this way. But it is, it is a protection to the prior landowner that, they can get their property back. So that's where we are with this. This is map 4, lot 1, sub 1, which is a couple doors down from Mary Hill Road on Route 4. 30 acres vacant land. The tax deed took effect about a year ago. And I will, with your approval and signature, I will take a check from that prior owner and register a deed, and
Okay,
it's back to the way it was the day before.
and if there's no payment, then there's no, no.
Right, yeah, we don't trade paper without a certified check, so.
Okay,
Yeah, this one's, it's pretty straightforward, it's their right. The math is the math, and,
okay.
yeah.
Questions?
The motion.
And this will fall to your balance sheet as revenue, we'd kind of written it off at the time of tax deeding, so this is,
It'll be 2018 revenue.
yeah, assuming that the check arrives, and I expect it will tomorrow, then yes, it would be 2018 revenue.
Okay,
All right, make a motion, the select board authorizes the transfer of map 4, lot 1-1, is it?
Yep.
To Greg Gentile Realty LLC as a repurchase of tax deeded property.
Second.
all in favor?
All right, if you could sign this deed, we will be on our way.
So this spreadsheet has been updated, right?
Yes,
Okay.
it's been updated for budget, not for actual expenses.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, everybody's favorite topic. Budget.
Thank you. All right, so this, I sent in your package budget update.
Yep.
A lot of this is follow-up from your compensation discussion of last week.
Yeah.
Taking your feedback, I came to a final, I think is a final proposal on benefits, essentially keeping the health insurance package the same and adding dental with the same cost sharing arrangement that we have with health, same percentages, so that employees would pay 10 or 15% of the premium for the dental insurance as we do with health insurance.
Okay.
I think we can get the participation that we are required to get to at that level, and it's, you know, it's clean, and that it's the same across the board for health and dental. And it's a relatively modest cost for the
Yep.
employee.
Yep.
Total impact to us for health is about 244,000, and dental is just over 17,000.
Okay, that's a no-brainer. As far as I'm concerned, I don't know if you guys,
I agree.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the whole number, we talked about all the components of this, but the whole benefit, health insurance / dental insurance benefit jumps quite a bit next year because of new enrollments, premium increase, and the added dental. So that
Yeah.
that stacks up. You'll see that in here, line 86. That's a, you know, overall it's a $49,000 jump this year. That's
Okay.
big by our standards. Last week we also talked about merit ranges, and I've got a matrix there for you with the qualification that these really are, you know, case-by-case decisions.
Yeah.
But just guidance to give to the department heads as they think about the whole year, where things are going to fall with performance and seniority.
So this is what it currently is.
No, this is what I would
What you're
recommend. This is what, with your okay, I will give this to the department heads next year and say, this is the year ahead, because we will have, you know, the reviews happen throughout the
How
year.
much did
so-
this change?
by a point, maybe.
Okay.
in generally.
At each level?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's been a quirk in the budget model that I've used, doesn't actually take into account the fact that we do this throughout the year. It was based on a full year, so we don't have to move the budget in order to do this. It's,
Okay.
you know, I think we can afford this at the budget level we're at.
Okay. I think that's good,
And there will be outliers on this, of course.
of course, yeah. Okay, you guys have any questions on the merit ranges?
No, not right now.
Okay.
Okay. And another change that I continue to tweak things throughout this draft, but the biggest things, since we last talked about it, we wanted to add per diem coverage on nights and weekends at the fire station. We talked with the chief about that a couple months ago. The initial proposal was to do that every night and every weekend for the full year. I don't think we're gonna be able to hire, neither does the chief think we're gonna be able to hire that much help.
Right.
It's just not reasonable to expect we'll be able to fill all those slots that quickly, so. He's recruiting for that role now, but, we're just not gonna find the people,
Right.
to fill all those shifts at the times we need them, so.
Yeah.
We pulled that number back by a third. And if, you know, if we have vacancies, the mix of that per diem line, the part-time line, full-time line, those all get jumbled with a
Right.
vacancy as we fill
Yeah.
holes. we have a vacancy right now, which we will probably carry into January. We're looking, but, so those numbers bounce around a little bit, but this is enough, between those two lines would be enough
Yeah. Okay.
to do what we need to do. Pulled back on the community center kitchen remodel a little bit. I think we can make use of some of the stuff we have, after talking with the contractors. We don't have a final plan, but,
What's the general thinking in terms of?
the layout remains pretty much the same. We'll be able to keep some of the cabinetry, redo the tops and the doors and hardware, but
Yeah,
the frames are pretty good.
okay,
The layout's not terrible for us, so we don't need to gut the whole thing.
Yeah.
And we do need to replace the appliances,
right,
those are done. And the sinks.
okay.
Chris, is the appliances and all that stuff gonna be commercial grade?
Yeah, the heaviest we can reasonably afford.
I mean, the
Yeah.
sinks as well?
Yeah, I think we need to come out of it with a commercial grade sink somehow. That's one of the bigger.
Now, is it just the cabinets, the counters, and the appliances, or are we
Yeah.
like doing the floor too?
No, I don't, generally, we don't want to pull this floor up.
Okay.
It's,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is it countertops?
yeah,
Okay, good,
yeah.
good. And what's the total number for that? Where did we land on that?
17?
Okay,
Do you typically ask multiple vendors?
I will for this one.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, it's big enough that,
Was that 17,000?
yeah. Sorry, 19.
So, Steve, that's just estimated at this time, and this is still, like, not our final budget, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep,
19, sorry. Increase the highway payroll line to accommodate a director, as we discussed. That's budgeted to start April 1st, so that may be optimistic, but
we'll give it a shot.
yeah. Move some other costs around, nothing big. So those are the big ticket changes since the last time we discussed this. We're now at 3.8 million and change, up 2.9%. I think the last time we did this, we were at 3.6 or 7,
Yep,
something like that. And we'll continue to refine. I think most of the big moves down have probably been found, with the exception of a couple of things I'm gonna cover next. So I think the dollar moves from here are smaller, unless you really wanna push the number one way or the other. A couple things we could do, and we are prepared to do, if you so choose. We could use leftover monies from 2018 to cover some of these costs in 19, pull the 19 budget back a little bit. Encumbering requires that we have a contract for work that will happen after the first of the year, but
Yep.
We have a contract in place to do that. We can do that with at least two things that I know of. One is the replacement of the fencing at New North Cemetery. Trustees have a vendor lined up, and we can execute that.
yep,
We don't pay the money until the work is done, but with a contract, you can encumber the funds. And also the replacement of the water system at the library.
that's an important one.
Yeah, that one is, that needs to get done before we have to do it.
Yep,
It's not urgent, but it's not something we want to do after it fails either, or deteriorates too much more. So those are options available to you. I think they're both costs worth incurring. They're both things that are worth doing. It's just a question of whether you want to do it with 18 money or propose it as part of 19.
the cemetery fencing, so we can get a contract on that now, but can that work actually begin with the frozen ground
No, that'll start in the spring.
in the spring?
Yeah, we did that with the Dame School a couple of years ago. By the time we got around to picking a contractor and everything, we were too
Okay.
late to do some of that work, so
Okay.
it's not unheard of. I'm also exploring the idea of using some cemetery funds to cover some of that, so.
Okay.
We have a trust fund, some of it is not dedicated to certain things, so, I don't have an answer on that yet, but we may shrink the budget impact on that either way.
Do you guys have thoughts on those two items?
I have some questions, but I'm not sure if I want to.
Go ahead, don't.
Well, how much money is being turned back in after this year?
I haven't updated the projection on the last probably 3 or 4 weeks worth of expenses, but it's 200, 250
And
maybe.
I guess we have to have a minimum of what, 15% or some weird number that the state requires us to have as an emergency fund or something like that in case something.
So the fund, anything that we have appropriated for, the town meeting approved an appropriation in March for 2018. That number was, 4 million.
Yeah.
We taxed that full amount. So we've taken the 4 million to cover those appropriations. We did that with the rate setting. We said, what's the most we're allowed to spend?
Yep.
We have to go tax for that amount. We won't spend that full amount. We've been given permission to spend that much, but we won't. Anything that we've taxed for, we've taken that money in, but we haven't spent it, that falls to the fund balance, or the undesignated fund balance. That's the number you're thinking of. That fund balance, it bounces around every year. Things like, selling back real estate will you come
That's
into
going
that.
to raise now because.
Right, then, so,
Forgive me, I know I'm a little still new at this here, but I think as a board, we have an obligation to ensure that money that is going to be turned back in, if we have projects such as the fences, the kitchen and the bathroom and little projects like that, as opposed to putting that towards the budget for next year. Why are we not utilizing the funds for this to include any pieces of equipment that a highway department may or another department could use?
You have the authority to spend any money that, for which the purpose has been appropriated. So maintaining a cemetery, you can spend that money. And you have quite a lot of latitude in that. We appropriate money for virtually every function that the town does. So you can take unspent money and apply it to that purpose. So you have that authority. So I guess 2 answers. One is more political in that the bigger decisions have typically been made by town meeting, bigger dollar decisions. And second, you don't want to spend right up to the limit because you don't know what's going to happen in January right? You want to keep some of your powder dry just in case because you can't miss. And second, you the town, and you the town through town meeting can spend that fund balance at town meeting if you wish. So you can just go into the bank and say, spend this money from fund balance. Town meeting has that authority. And you next year will have that opportunity to use that money for buying down the tax rate. Those are the things that you're, assuming you have enough operating money, which we do, those are the things that you're holding on to fund balance for. So, is that a long?
So you had some thoughts, right?
Yes.
Why don't you go ahead and.
My thought is, and now this tax deed property, you're looking at almost $300,000 or maybe a little over, depending on, what actually comes back. After observing Bardary Lane and the repairs that were done down there and seeing what happened at Mendy Way, I am more convinced now that the highway department needs some sort of a piece of equipment of that nature. Maybe not the initial one that the largest one, but a small one that's like what that is right now. To include in trailer, you're looking at about $150 grand for that. And then if you're gonna do some repairs to the kitchen and the bathroom at the recycling center. Little projects like that. I think that could go a long way to ensure the townspeople that we're spending their money, appropriately and as efficiently as we can, but also have less of an impact for the budget next year. Everybody, everybody's still up in arms in regards to the tax rate and the taxes going up and all that. So I think if we have an opportunity to do these projects with very minimal impact to the budget next year, I think we should take advantage of that.
So, I'm sorry, you said it's an excavator, right?
Yes, it is.
So, do we have, I'm assuming you talked to highway guys
Yep.
about it. Do we have well, first off, do we have that in the CIP anywhere?
No.
We don't have it in CIP,
No.
okay. And do we have defined projects that we would, capital improvement plan? Do we have defined projects that we would,
Jack says there's plenty of work for that, to keep that thing going all summer long, all winter. Clearing culverts out, clearing trenches and all that other stuff. It will get a lot of use as opposed to renting a piece of equipment.
your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree, we would definitely benefit from it. We spend a lot renting them every year, and we give up some flexibility, not having it. It's kind of just from a real simplistic view, you'd be kind of surprised that the highway department doesn't have an excavator.
Right.
So, yeah, it will be in the next CIP. It's not been there prior. It's, we
Yeah.
identified one that looks like a good fit. It is a need. I think it would be better to, I think it's justifiable, but you don't pay me for political advice, but I think it would probably be better if you want to buy that out of the fund balance, which is essentially what you're doing. I think it would be quite a departure from what the town is accustomed to have the board make that size decision 3 months before town meeting.
Yeah.
It might be better received if you propose to buy one out of the fund balance to town meeting and let town meeting decide. I think that would make plenty
I'm
of sense.
okay with
but-
that.
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
Yeah.
And that is one of the highest priority pieces of equipment we need,
It's second to the
Yeah.
10-wheel truck.
which is already planned for.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with warrant article at town meeting to take it out of the fund balance.
What are you proposing, what type of equipment that's
It's a excavator on tracks. Basically, you could do multiple jobs with that, such as culvert repairs and,
No, that was very effective, as you saw.
yeah. Yeah.
It's very effective and very quick.
It's very similar to the one that you've taken a picture. It's
Yeah.
not the one like that, it's actually the next one up, but something very similar to that.
I do agree. I think it's too big I think the number's too big for us to just go ahead and make that decision without. Are you cool with that, Tyler?
Yeah.
You're cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
We don't have contracts in hand for the fencing or the library, but I can for your meeting on the 27th if you are so inclined to encumber those. These are smaller things, and those fit more with what you've done
Yeah.
historically with encumbrances. I
So-
can put those before you on the 27th if you so desire.
Okay. Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Keep rolling on?
Yep, keep
Okay.
going.
Another thing we do kind of around the edges, in an effort to pull back on next year's budget, we buy smaller things, kind of like projects, but we just make the purchases in December sometimes. We could do that this year with a couple of notebook computers for this building, a storage container and a plow for the Bobcat for the recycling center.
I have a question in regards to the plow.
Yeah,
That's for that, there's only one Bobcat over there.
yeah, yeah,
My concern with a plow on that piece of equipment is you cannot see out on the one side of that. So I'm concerned for safety, whether, if they're gonna be doing it during the day or during operations.
No,
Or-
this is be more cleanup
Okay,
before
but
they open kind of stuff.
Even so, I'd be more concerned that they're hitting the building, hitting other objects, because you cannot see out of that one side of the Bobcat. It's not your typical, for the folks at home,
Yeah.
it's not your typical Bobcat. You know, when people think of Bobcat, they're thinking of little skid steers. They're not thinking of that arm that blocks the whole passenger side of view
Yeah.
when you're plowing. I think, in all intents, all intents and purposes, I would feel better not getting a plow for that and just have the highway department to continue to plow for them. And when it comes time to replace the 2012 truck, give them that truck to do the work, the old 2012 truck, to just do what they need to do around the buildings. At least you could have a 360 view.
The utility pickup?
The old, the F-350,
Yeah, okay.
they take the old truck, give it to the recycling center when it comes time to replace that.
Okay. If it lives that long, yeah.
Well, it'll get less use up there than it
Yeah,
would
of
at the
course,
highway
yeah.
department, so.
Okay.
You guys have any thoughts on that?
No?
Yeah, I'm gonna defer to you on that one, Ben,
Okay.
so, Tyler?
Fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then one other encumbrance that I'll ask you to do on the 27th is, you see a breakdown here of the various highway project monies that we have in play. We have a little bit of flexibility in how we shuffle those things around, given the appropriations that you have. What I'm working toward is finishing Cooper Hill next year. We have a winter base down on Cooper Hill for the gravel section we just paved. We do need to put another coat on that. We have an opportunity perhaps to, on Ledge Farm Road, we had talked about asking for funds next year to engineer
Yeah.
and pave with what was left over, right?
Yeah.
You remember that
Yep.
concept? We can get a jump start on that engineering cost. We don't know what that total is gonna be for engineering, perhaps land acquisition, reconstruction of that first section of Ledge Farm. Last year, we knew we were in for $650, just to pave it. So we're gonna be north of that with more complex engineering and perhaps, straightening out the road or, whatever it's gonna take, around that corner to get it to some standard. If you want to get a jump on the engineering side of that, you could use money that we have now instead of 2 years from now, or because we don't know where all the funds are gonna come from for that
Yep.
650. We could spend 3 years coming up with the money for it, and have zero tax impact in that regard.
So basically what you're showing us in this update on the highway funds is that between the appropriations from the special highway appropriation and the road reconstruction warrant article, there's after all of that being done, there's a remaining balance of 43
43 from last year's,
warrant articles.
warrant article.
Yep,
We have enough to finish Cooper Hill and have 43 left over,
okay,
okay? Outside of that, the special highway appropriation you got last year,
yep,
you started spending that on Lakeview. We got Lakeview done early because of that money. You still have 27 left
so
from that.
it's the 44 plus the 27?
Correct.
Okay, so you're saying out of the combination of those two, we could look at taking some of that to start the engineering work for Ledge Farm?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, you have really a lot of latitude on the SB 38 money, and the road reconstruction warrant article authorizes you to do, reconstruction, engineering, paving, et cetera,
okay,
on Cooper Hill Road or other roads deemed to be a priority.
Okay.
Or some language to that effect. So
Okay.
you have that flexibility. That 43 number, that won't really revert to the fund balance for some time because it's a capital project and
Okay.
that money's committed to capital work. So that's another encumbrance option for you.
Okay, so we don't know what that engineering estimate is yet?
No, I think, I mean, on a $650,000 job minimum, you can count on it being probably 10% of that.
Okay.
Maybe 8%, but it's, and I will get a harder number for you, if you're interested in that concept, but,
What do you guys think? Do we want Chris to go ahead and at least get an estimate for that engineering so that we can then
I would.
Yeah.
evaluate it?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think you probably have to think about it as a down payment on the engineering as much as a final number, but.
yeah, that's fine.
And I'd say find out from them, like if there are chunks of it that can be done as part of the overall.
Yeah, we'll break it out as
Yeah,
this function, that function, and there'll be a breakdown of it, yeah.
Because that road needs love, right? And
Yeah.
The road needs a lot of love.
Yeah, all we did last year was get what does it take to turn this gravel surface into an asphalt surface?
Yep,
That was the 650 number for the full mile. This
Didn't
prepares
include-
us to take it to the next level in terms of, really fixing the road.
That original proposal didn't do anything as far as fixing that problem just after the paved section.
Correct.
no,
Okay, so it was
Yeah.
just paving the entire road. Okay,
Right.
all right,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
okay,
All right, so I will have those few things for you. That's the business on the 27th that I wanted to
Okay.
leave a spot for, was those encumbrance items.
okay.
And I think that is it for budget news.
Okay, so where are we in the cycle with sharing with the budget committee?
That we are after the first draft. So
Yeah.
we've done the first draft, and our second draft is second week of January,
Okay,
something like that.
and then do we know when the, public hearing is on it?
We do, I don't know if I can tell you.
February 7th.
Thank you.
February 7th,
There you
okay.
go. Yeah, we didn't get any guidance from the committee, Ben, on if they wanted to see any department heads between now and then, is that correct?
No.
Okay, so we're,
No, we're still waiting on the school, revised budget. So, I mean, we're still, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, the next 3 meetings of the budget committee, 4 meetings are strictly school, second draft, final draft.
Oh, really?
and a public hearing, yeah.
okay. All right.
yeah, so you're gonna be okay schedule-wise with getting a budget to
Yep.
the committee that I think we can,
Yep.
you know.
And when is our first meeting in January?
With the budget committee,
No, just us.
Wasn't it?
14th.
Yeah.
14,
January,
Yeah.
14th is a Monday?
yeah,
Okay,
yep.
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
I just,
Yeah, so you have your meeting on the 27th and the meeting on the 14th before our second draft goes to the budget committee.
okay, so I think, we've been through all these line items with Chris, but I think before, at one of those meetings before that, we should make sure everybody goes through line by line by line by line, just to make sure there's nothing.
Yep.
I mean, I know it hasn't changed much, but just to one final, like, let's make sure we go through it and make sure there's no questions that we have. Okay,
Yep.
all right,
Yeah, we will get you an update, certainly prior to your January 14 meeting with actuals that are much closer to real year-end numbers. There's a number of items that say we're gonna go back and look at this at the end of the year, and we get a full year in. We'll have all that for you before your meeting on the 14th,
okay.
well before your meeting on the 14th.
Okay, anything else on budget? Any questions, you guys? Good work, Chris. Anything else?
I have nothing else for you.
Anybody have anything? No. Okay, we are now going to go into non-public because we have a couple of non-public items that we have to take care of. And we will be going in under A and D. Thanks for coming, you guys.
On behalf of the entire press corps, we want to wish you a happy holidays.
Thank you. You better behave, we might revoke your credentials there, Steve. Don, make sure he has his press pass next time, okay?
All of his articles need to be reviewed by the town office before they're published from now on.
Okay,
All right. Make a motion, we enter non-public session per RSA 91-A:3, Section 2A and 2D.
Second.
roll call.
I, Ben Bartlett.
Hi, Tyler Eden.
Donna Danis.
Aye, Tony Dumas.
We're gonna go in. What?
No, you can continue. He was gonna shut you off before you were done.
Oh, we're gonna go into non-public, and given that there's no further items to discuss in a public meeting, we will be coming out of non-public and adjourning the meeting. Thank you for watching.